Welcome to Commissioner Status Update. It's September 10th, 2024. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks, Matari, and Duncan. Are there changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Public comment. Hearing none. Our first item is Justice Center Update with Mr. Mendez, please.
Good morning. David Mendez with Turner and Townsend Heery. I've placed on your desks an update to the spreadsheet that we monitor weekly, showing where our current budget is. There are just a few items that I'd like to update you on, starting with DC .18, so that's the first grouping. It's the operable wall steel bracing. So we had a modification after structural review. There's an operable wall that separates the conference room into two rooms that needed additional steel bracing, and I got pricing of the rough order magnitude was $7,500. The actual pricing was $5,882. The next three items we've gone over, and I don't have finalized pricing on 19, 20, or 21. 22 is no change. That's that communication system booster. We're still thinking we're going to be within budget on that, and that's moved forward into design, although we won't have a finalized design as we've talked about until we have interior walls completed in the building. We had an item that came up that's number 23, window head flashings at time of inspection, both by our special inspector and also by the city inspector. The metal flashings at the top of each window needed to be modified, and that was pretty significant cost of $11,637. So some of them had already been installed, some of them had to be taken down, refabricated, and then the ones that had been fabricated had to be modified slightly to accommodate this revision. Next item is something I've received pricing on. We always have this discussion about concrete at the exterior of buildings, that when we put snow melt on them, there's a big disagreement amongst the people that install that and people who operate buildings. You're not supposed to put snow melt on concrete for the first year. So we were looking, the north entrance, we have to pour the concrete now, provide access to the public in that entry. This winter we'll have to put snow melt. It's just no option to not do that. So there's a coating that we're looking at applying. I've never seen one that anybody really stands behind. So this one is, they're standing behind this one, but the extent that we apply it, it's something that's not proven. So I'm not real enthusiastic about saying, okay, well, to all the exterior concrete, we're going to add this coating too. So just the one area that we need for this winter is about $3,000 or about $4,000. So I think we're going to have one final discussion about that, and I think that's what we'll end up doing is applying that coating so we preserve that concrete.
What size area are we talking about?
It's about 3,000 square feet.
Oh,
I didn't bring that with me.
Okay.
And then there's the rest of the exterior concrete about doubles that. So I'm saying about $4,000 for the one area, and then if we add it to the rest, we're up to about $10,000 in added cost to protect that.
I was just wondering if it was small enough, we could just put something else on top of it, like rubber matting, but that's way too big of an area.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sized area.
Okay.
An item that doesn't show up on that is through questioning with the fire department. A Knox box is a box on the exterior of the building that houses the keys or access passes to your building. So if you have an overnight incident, a fire, that the fire department can go, they have a common key, it opens that block up, then they have access into the building with keys or passes. So right now, currently in the design, we have one entry in the building They've requested that at the south tower, we add another one of those. So I don't have a cost for that yet, but it's probably going to be about $1,000 to add another box. Moving down into construction contingencies, there's only one new item. Actually, there's two new items, 11 and 12. 11 is still under review. I need to determine whether that's a cost that can be charged against the contingency. They had a boom lift that damaged the walkway steel. It hit the I-beam and bent it. The structural engineer happened to be here on site. They've looked at it, reviewed it, and made a decision about how it's going to be repaired. What I don't know is whether that's an obligation under our contingency items to pay for damages done by one of the subcontractors. The next item is, I'm going to introduce a new term to you and me, scrim. So when they apply fireproofing to the structural members inside a building for fire protection, they put a screen over the structural member, and then they spray that fireproofing on top of that. In this instance, the bay between the steel members, that scrim would block fire protection, so your sprinklers wouldn't spray properly in between them, would be stopped by that temporary scrim that they put in there. And so they're having to go in and cut out all of the openings in that scrim area. That leaves the fire protection on the steel itself, but the bays in between, then they have to remove that. And so that's looking, it's a $3,000 added cost, and that's just in limited areas where it's open to vehicles down in the Sallyport area. And that was just an item that was not thought about properly in the design process. So that's what I have. So that takes our design contingency usage to 35%, and our usage of the construction contingency to 25%, which is, that's rounded. That's what it was last time. Even with these added two items, they're still at 25%. Are there any questions about any of the changes?
Yes.
Okay.
Given where we are on our contingencies, are we in a good position?
Really good position.
Okay, so
But we've talked all along that I've left a number at the bottom of the page that's $29,253,000. So that is what the cost of this building, the construction cost of this building, if we didn't use any more of the contingency items. So we've allotted $30,440,000. So the difference between those two, you're going to see a significant portion of that credited back to the contract at the end of this construction.
assuming no more.
Assuming no more changes. That's
Yeah. But typically in this stage of the life cycle of construction, we're ahead of the game.
typically at this stage, what we use those contingencies for are owner betterments. So if you decided, hey, I want to gold plate something, which is an exaggeration, but if you decided that you wanted to add back in some of these things that we've taken out of the building, or you want to make we want to upgrade furnishings as we're putting this together, then that's typically, at this point in a construction contract, that's typically where that money goes, is betterment. So we should be through, we're hitting these little $2,000 and $3,000 items. That's what I would expect to continue, through the process, but that's not going to eat up these large contingencies very, very quickly.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Bill? No. Okay, thank you. Item 2, Coroner's Office Autopsy Lab, next steps. Mr. Voller and Dr. Johnson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Voller for the record. We brought this up last week at the status update, and there wasn't consensus on it, so we're bringing it back today just to continue that discussion. But want to propose next steps for the Coroner's Autopsy Lab if we want to continue to keep that moving forward. I would suggest we put out an RFQ to get an architect firm on board and actually get plans drawn for that. And so that would be submitting the RFQ. And then when we receive those RFQs, we would essentially award that to an architect and then negotiate the fees. We anticipate that to be around $100,000 to $130,000. That's kind of a rough estimate. A couple architects have given us to ballpark for that. And so we want to have the discussion with the commissioners to see if that's something that you want us to continue to move forward with, and where we want to go next steps with that autopsy lab.
Okay. Bruce?
This is only for phase one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. I mean, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Send out an RFQ?
Yep.
Okay. Bill?
No, but I think I'm outvoted.
Okay. All right, so I guess we'll go the RFQ route, and just, again, for clarification, do you see this going construction manager, general contractor after the architect RFQ?
I would probably do it, yeah, that portion of it, because it's nice to get that team together where you have everybody, I mean, the architect takes lead on it and, is ultimately the design phase, but they can consult with the general contractor, look for value engineering while they're doing the design, and then you bring that full team on board. So we'd probably write it that way is what I would see.
Okay, so looks like you can start writing the RFQ for architecture.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, item 3, Casey North Remodel. Mr. Reed, please.
Good morning, Tom with KCSO Maintenance. Let me get my glasses on. KCSO North. Detectives started moving to the building last week, and they're just about there. They're fine-tuning a few of their offices. A portion of the backgrounds department has moved to the new location, and the rest, including training, is scheduled to be moved by the end of this week. This will leave the Pierce Clegg building mostly, if not completely vacant, by the end of September. We are pausing evidence right now until we can get everybody else moved in, and then we'll finish them up because they are on the end towards the warehouse part. Maintenance is continuing work on the lobby, civil area, the patrol side, the sheriff's admin side, and added security, which is the locks to the exterior and interior locks. The electrician is continuing with their work based on their initial report, repairing and correcting as they go. The building is scheduled to be mostly occupied by the end of September, with the exception of evidence. We plan to have their area completed by or before the middle of October. The roofing project has made some progress. While inspecting the southeast corner, where it was feared there could be water damage, they found none, so we're good there. So there was a pause in their, or a delay in their work last week. They had to head down to Boise to do another project and finish that up. So they started back up this Monday. And there's no further updates on the roofing. We haven't met with them again since they've been continuing their work. We're waiting on another estimate to finish out the lobby project. It's to replace the door into the admin area from the lobby. It will probably be coming before the BOCC as a change order. It was in the original scope, but put on hold until the lobby walls and service windows were completed. We plan on funding this with the projected budget. Jeff, Will, and I will be meeting in the next few days to go over the numbers and see where we are with the balance. Any questions? No?
Nope.
Okay. So I think you and Jeff might already be talking about this, but when current admin is vacated, we do have about 5 people who need offices.
Correct.
So good, as long as you guys are talking about that.
Yeah.
That's super
Yeah,
helpful.
the proposal, and I think he's gonna have Colleen do a walkthrough
Okay.
at the PCB. Once training is moved out, that might work out better with the coroner's offices.
Okay,
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's some options.
fantastic. Okay, and then 4, update on jail pod project.
We met with Sletton by Zoom last week, and they're still working on subcontractor pricing and alternate construction costs for the rec yards. They believe they are on track to provide a GMP on or before October 18th, with a potential start date of early June. We're trying to press them to start earlier, but as of now, they've dropped it from, I think, November to June. They wondered if the commissioners would be interested in a presentation to go over the project and answer any questions you might have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's it.
All right, any questions, Bill?
Oh, that sounds good, though, as soon as possible.
Okay, Bruce? Any other questions?
No, we should have that presentation, so, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Tom. Item 5, county fair survey responses. Bruce?
Yes, we had, as a board, decided that if we were going to have a table, we should try to get some feedback from the community. So I don't really think that today is the day to open it up and go through them, but I would like to at some point. I think it's good feedback. I was kind of hoping we could do it at the next Commissioner Town Hall, because it could fill some time, and we could open them up. Hopefully, there won't be too many humorous items in there, but if there is, we can get a little laugh out of that. But
Okay,
that was the
so-
thought behind it.
Okay, so you just want to open them and read them in public instead of having staff go through and organize them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I mean, there's a few in there, but, we can go through them while we're talking,
okay,
answer questions.
okay. So that would be October?
Yes. I don't have the date in front of me, but I could look it up real quick. Bill, did you have any thoughts on that?
No,
Okay. All right, then is that it? for that?
That is it, assuming we can do that. Yes.
All right, so we'll do that. October Town Hall.
Yeah, the 29th.
Okay. All right, item 6, the agricultural protection area, and that is H608A.
Yes, that was signed by the governor earlier this year. I don't believe we've talked about it, that we need to have a board ready and a resolution before the end of the year. The gist of this is that by January 1, we should have a resolution in place that allows landowners, 5 acres or more, who are engaged in the agricultural business, to submit their property to get this agricultural protection designation that limits, in essence, the intent of the bill is to limit governments from changing zoning on land that is being used for farming or agricultural purposes, protects against nuisance lawsuits against agricultural activities, which I'm sure there's a few folks on the prairie who could have used something like this back in the, was it the 90s when they were burning the fields?
Yeah,
And restricts use of eminent domain on agricultural land. So before us, we just have to kind of decide, because this will be basically another advisory board. Do we want 3 members or 5 members?
we can't use Planning and Zoning Commission?
Well, they didn't mention anything about that. At least I didn't see that in here. It says the Board of County Commissioners shall appoint at least 3 and no more than 5 members actively employed by or supporting production agricultural in the county. So I think they need to be more associated with agricultural activities. So we probably should have,
Open up applications?
well, we need the resolution too, but yes.
Okay, so I know Community Development's also working on this, so we'll want to make sure, we'll see where they are in the process.
Yeah.
Pat, can you speak to that today?
Yeah, we'll actually we'll have to pass an ordinance and laying out the process, and then, I think the resolution would, establish this advisory board and, terms and that kind of thing. It is on my radar. I should have an ordinance drafted by the end of the month, and, we can schedule that for public hearing at that point. It would just need to go through the commissioners and not the planning commission, so we only
Okay.
need 1 hearing and not 2. So,
Perfect.
but yeah, I am well aware of the requirement and the deadline, and so we are diligently working on that.
All right, and then when shall we appoint this member, this 3 to 5 member board? And do you suggest we open it up to the public, or we just bring suggestions forward?
I think it's within your discretion whether you want to open it up to the public. I mean, we certainly can with the, with the caveat that we would need to make clear what the legal requirement is for serving on that board. Applications, we could probably do it, in November, December timeframe when we normally do our our advisory board appointments. That would just be another one we would have openings for.
Okay. And does this group have to be appointed before January 1st?
That's a good question. I'm looking at the bill right now.
Yeah, the way I read it is that we have to be ready to accept applications, and I believe that board plays a role in reviewing the applications. So I would argue that to err on the side of caution, let's get that done by the end of December.
Okay. That seems easy enough.
Yeah, I would agree with that, even though the legislation isn't that specific,
Okay.
but nevertheless, I agree. Since the deadline is December 31st, it would be optimal to have that in place by then.
Okay, so then also we'll have to actually figure out when the terms expire and if we're going to alternate, stagger their terms and all
Right.
that stuff.
Yeah.
It just has to be no less than 3 years and no more than 6 years.
Okay,
So-
perfect. Okay. Sounds good. Do you need anything else from the board today?
No, I mean, if the board is agreeable, I'm happy to work with community development and Pat and just, kind of make sure that we're keeping it moving.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I appreciate that. Good? Okay. Anything else on that one?
No, that's it.
All right. Item 7, assess, collect, distribute committee update with Ms. Hildreth.
There is no update.
No update. Okay. All right. We do have 2 executive sessions. The item F, it says it's related to the assessor, but actually it's we can use it for a BOCC executive session for pending litigation. So if I'll ask for public comment before we go into executive session, that way people don't have to wait around to make public comment. Nope. Okay. Then I would take a motion to enter into executive session for both items.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061D as in Delta and 1F.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. Is there a motion?
I move that we exit executive session 1D and 1F with staff to proceed as discussed.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Aye. I've already called for public comments, so 10:54, meeting adjourned.